Hello, hello. My name's Quincy. I'm the video producer at SmashJump.com. Today we have a very special guest from Holy Cap Studio, Maxence. Maxence, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Maxence. I'm the creative director at Holy Cap Studio, and I'm one of the devs that work on Promenade that got released recently on our platform. So I'm really happy to be here and to have this little chat with you, Quincy.
Thank you, Maxence. Again, we're so pleased to have you here. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Let's just jump right into the questions,
Yeah,
really.
sure.
Okay, so can you please tell us a bit about your background and your role as game director and designer for Promenade? What aspects were you in charge of?
Yeah, sure. So I've spent a long time studying. I kind of struggled to find the proper path for me. So in the end, it was a video game. So I decided to go with that. I in the end, I did programming studies, and I worked for 1 year in a video game studio as a gameplay programmer at a Cyanide studio in France, in Paris. And after that, I really wanted to have my own game. You know, I had the itch of creating something that was mine and not working on other people's projects. Um, so I co-founded the Holy Cap studio with a friend from programming school, Romain, my very dear friend, and yeah, that was it, the start of the adventure. And it actually originated from a project that I worked on my free time during my student years and during my first year of working at Cyanide Studio, like some kind of prototype, really basic, with just squares moving, and basically everything is a square. You know, Nemo is a square, the pulp is a square, everything is a square. Just programming the physics, trying to get the you know, writing tons of stuff on papers, and yeah, so that was the start of the project. And personally, my responsibilities, the thing I was in charge of during the development of the game was programming, of course, with my friend Romain. We both program, so 50-50 of programming, and making sure everything was in line with my vision. That was my job as a creative director. And I also did all of the game design and almost all of the level design for the game. I would say like 95% of the level design is whether my fault or things to me, depending on if you like it or not.
That is amazing. So you're really able to, it's been a long journey, but you've been able to find your passion of
Yeah.
game design. And it sounds like you've had a really, a strong influence on the game, being the level designer and working on the physics. That is incredible.
But
Um,
everyone had a lot of. It seems like I did a lot of work, and I did. It was really a lot. But we're a small team, so everyone had to have several roles in the development and work harder, because with only 4 people, I mean, creating a video game takes more than 4 jobs, separate roles. So everyone has to have multiple ones. So, yeah.
yeah, perfect segue. You're a professional. So you've spoken about everyone in a small team. You have to wear many hats, as it were, and fill different roles. We know for the four of you, for the four core developers on Promenade, how did it feel on launch day, and how surprised were you at the great critical reception Promenade has received?
I was kind of in a weird mindset, to be frank, because I was so exhausted, and it was kind of it took me a time to have to have the release of the game sink in. It's like, oh, it's done now. It's finally out. So while the game was being released and the reviews were coming, I was of course really happy, but I was also kind of not realizing, that it was really happening. I was kind of in a mind state where I just wanted to be at home and sleep, because everything was so. But I think the moment where I was really happy, the it really was becoming real, is when I started watching people stream the game, on Twitch, even small streamer, just hopping on a stream and watching people's reaction to the game, having the players reaction, because in the end we are making this because we hope that the player will have fun playing the game. So watching the reaction of players having fun, laughing, trying to take on a difficult challenge and managing to do it in the end and being really happy, I think that was the moment where I was the more where it got real for me. I was like, oh, it's not just numbers. And I was like, sure, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, that's amazing, but it's numbers. It didn't process the same way in my brain as just watching people smile playing the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is beautiful. So obviously coming away from finishing the game feeling so exhausted, the numbers are nice, but for you, it's really seeing people love and enjoy the game and speak about it and share it with others. That's what really
Yeah.
gave you that reward.
Yeah, because you see, during this 3.5 year of development, we've taken so much decision, small decision, like where do I put this platform, or what should this puzzle be, or and you just expect that you hope that it's a good idea, but all these tiny details that now finally you can check, you can see the instant reaction of a player. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful. We're going away from the wonderful success that Promenade has been. Let's talk about the challenges. What were some of the main challenges your team faced during development?
The main challenge was really going the distance. I think 3.5 year. Um, it's a long time. So sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling it. You don't really want to go to work because you've been doing that for a long time. So just gonna um, get up anyway, get to work, and start, little steps, baby steps, and I I've in my experience, it comes back. Just have to trust that by keeping working, you're gonna find enjoyment in your work. But sometimes it's hard, so you just gotta trust the process. You're like, okay, I gotta do this. And since we were such a small team, we were such a tight budget, because we really we struggled to have the game funded. So it was a lot of stress and pressure, and I think that was the most difficult part. It wasn't really a technical issue, or just the logistics of creating a game over such a long time with such a small team with such a small budget. That was really the challenge, the more challenging part for me, I think, personally.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly difficult, especially when it's something that's entirely out of your control. As you say, it wasn't technical issues or logistics. It's the real brass tacks, as it were.
Yeah.
It's the time frame, it's the budget. Yeah, but it's incredible that you've been able to, as you say, trust the process, keep it going, keep it going. I love that. Okay, why did the team decide to make Promenade a platformer as opposed to any other genre? And what were the inspirations behind Promenade?
Yeah, those questions are mainly the same question in the end, because the inspiration is what made Promenade a 2D platformer. The initial idea of Promenade was to have growing up, I grew up with an N64 and Mario 64 and Banjo Kazooie, and this the golden era of collectathons where 3D platformers are just a world full of things to explore and discover. And I really loved that. It wasn't a different kind of open world where it wasn't filled with tons of busy stuff, but it was rewarding to find a new place and find secrets. And you didn't have to find everything. You just had to find enough interesting stuff to be able to keep going. And I loved that. And I really wanted to find a 2D game that managed to capture the essence of that. So in a way, Metroidvanias work in this way, but it's not exactly the same. The vibe isn't exactly the same. So I just figured, why not making a 2D collectathon since it doesn't exist? And it's such a perfect framework for having a basic movement system that might seem not basic, but simple. It's a simple, movement system that gets challenged in each world, and that always surprise the player with a different way because of using the movements and mechanics of the game. Because I mean, platformer is just run and jump. It's a genre, but it's also the most basic way of moving around. So it was just the platformer also came from the fact that it's a really simple framework for expanding on top of it.
Yeah, that is amazing. So, and you're so right in saying it. There isn't, to my knowledge, a 2D platformer that uses that collectathon energy and implements the systems and mechanics from some of those greats like Kazooie and 64. And that's something that, I'm sure you've seen that people are recognizing about the game and is working really, really well. We loved the innovative level design and how well it ties in with the gameplay. As a designer, what comes first when you plan? The level design, the gameplay mechanics, which one informs the other more for Promenade?
It's definitely the gameplay. The first step was really to come up with as many crazy and ideas, you're like, oh, you could do that. That would be fun, and you could grab this kind of objects, and that could interact in this way, and just having tons of ideas and just write stuff on sticky notes, and just trying to dream about your game. What are you dreaming this game that what you want it to be. So that was the first step. And once you've got all these sticky notes with ideas, some are doable, some are really too crazy to be put in the game, you just try to put them together and see if they would match in the same area, like, oh, those two ideas could go in the beach level, those two ideas could go in the jungle level, and then you refine more and more the ideas until you've got roughly 10 interesting things per level, and now you can do the level design because you've got all your ideas, gameplay ideas.
Wonderful. So gameplay first.
Gameplay first.
All the ideas are out there, and then it's about bringing them together. And I can spot some things happening on the whiteboard behind you. Is that game related? Is this what's happening over there?
It's it's game related.
Okay.
We did some tweaks about sling hops for a patch recently, so I was sketching some angles, discussing angles about stuff to Romain, my coworker and friend, and that's what you're seeing here. But there's weird horses here that has nothing to do with that.
Just a weird horse.
just as fooling around.
Okay. Promenade features great variety of gameplay, from throwbacks to Space Invaders to Da Vinci's funny paintings. How did you make sure not to overwhelm the player with this variety?
I think some players might be overwhelmed. I'm not sure. I tried to not overwhelm the player. I think Promenade can sometimes be overwhelming. No, I would say one thing. It's that we were making sure when designing the gameplay and things in the games to always come back to the core mechanic of the game. In that way, I mean that we didn't really build mechanics on top of each other. You just have the core gameplay, and every other mechanic is derived from the core gameplay. So you're just you can skip a mechanic in a world, and you're not never gonna be lost in a world later because it's never required to understand mechanics from before to understand mechanics that you will encounter later in the game. So I would say that's the point that made the game less overwhelming for player. I think that's the way that Collectathon, I mean, at least the way we designed Promenade differs from Metroidvanias, because in Metroidvanias you're uh, building on top of what the player can already do in the game, and at the end you have all these crazy power up and skills, and you're expected to have mastered the thing from the start when you unlock the things at the middle of the game, but not in Promenade. In Promenade you just have to try to fool around with the mechanics in the world, and then it's just gonna you're gonna let that behind you. You're gonna explore something new. So that's my answer. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be a convoluted one,
So,
but
no, that's okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. So it's to stop people being overwhelmed. It's not just throwing mechanic on top of mechanic. It's making sure that everything comes back to the core
yeah,
gameplay
yeah,
mechanics. Yeah.
exactly. Just grabbing stuff, throwing stuff, hooking, grabbing the hooks, and everything has to be tied to one of those three interactions at any time. Basketball, just throw stuff in the hoops, and that's it. And later in the game, you have the snowball fights really, really later in the game, and it's just grab snowballs and throw it at stuff, So you just always come back to the core of grab stuff, throw stuff. In that way, the player can always say, "Yeah, I can do that. I understand what's asked of me."
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, what are some of your favorite mini games in Promenade? I know you just mentioned a couple of cool moments from the game there, but what are some of your favorite mini games in Promenade?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I have favorite mini games. I like the idea of the arcade cabinet because I think it's really fun to jump in. But I don't have much more fun when I'm playing the game, trying
Mhm.
to do a run. That's not the part. I think they start to be a bit redundant. But I've played the game so much that might be the reason why. I think I especially like some puzzles. Sometimes there are some puzzles, and I'm really proud of them. Like I'm freaking proud of this one, like the removable doors from the turnip house. Every time I'm in that area, I'm like, damn it, I really like that puzzle. That's a good one. So not a mini game per se, but just it tickles my developer brain in a funny way that I like. Being able to remove the door and put it somewhere else. That was something that I really enjoyed the idea and programming it and doing it. So yeah.
That is super cool. That sounds incredibly rewarding there to see that come into fruition. What is next for Holy Cap? Another IP? DLC? A sequel?
um, we are there. We are not saying no to DLC or sequel, but we are not really. Uh, we're really tired about working on Promenade, so we're just gonna let that on the side for a moment and working on something. Yeah, we're working on a new project. We are working on a vertical slice and a prototype, and it's really exciting to work on something new after almost 4 years working on the same project. So yeah, the creativity just flows, and you're just full of new ideas, and you're like, that's really yeah, it's really refreshing to work on something new. So we're enjoying leaving Promenade behind for a moment.
That's incredible. Bit tired, but you're not saying no to any future content for Promenade. But it sounds like you've got some exciting things on the horizon, and you're invigorated
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
ready to try something new.
yeah. I've been working on patching a few bugs and details lately on Promenade, and that's fine. But can't wait to go back to our new project. That's
That's insane. Is
yeah.
there anything you can share with us at this early stage?
Not sure. I can say that it's going to be totally different, and I guess we can talk a little bit about our new project and the idea of it. It's going to be very different from Promenade, and once again, it's a prototype, so it might never see never be released. We might go on a totally different direction, but we're working on a versus game, multiplayer versus game, something that you can play with your friend online and have a game or two, something that's at the we are trying to have a game that's at the crossroad, in between fighting game like platforming fighter and sports game, like so that's where we are at.
Okay, interesting. I'm
Yeah,
excited to see what that would look like. I'm very
yeah,
intrigued. I'll keep in contact with you for that one.
yeah.
So I remember earlier in our conversation, you spoke about, your journey to finding something that you loved and really enjoyed. So this works in perfectly here. What for those who may be interested in getting involved in the games industry, how did you get started, and what advice would you have for those people?
um I would start but by saying that I was incredibly lucky. um you gotta have the patience, but you also gotta have the meet the right people, to have the right team, and having your close friends and family that are supportive is really something that's tremendously helpful in some situations. So I would say that getting started is easier when you met the right people, which was my case. I met Romain at school, and he really wanted to found his company, and he wanted to have it be like a game studio. But he really had the entrepreneurial, itch, and I had the creating a 2D collectathon each. So that was really, lucky to find the right person to create to go on this adventure. And so that's something to keep in mind. Some of the requirements are, I mean, sometimes some things are out of your control, and you just gotta be grateful when it happens, but it might not happen. And I would also say that an advice is you really gotta love creating games and love playing games, and it's gotta be your passion, dude, because if you don't love it during these times, like I said, sometimes it's tough creating a game. It's exciting at the beginning, but you've got this huge dip in the middle of the project, and by the end, it's sometimes you hate it. You're like, oh, I can't see this game anymore. I can't stand it. So you gotta make sure that you love what you are doing and you love video game, because that's in the end, that's the only thing that's going to make you come back to it when things get difficult, because it's going to get difficult. I mean, I'm mainly speaking about my perspective as an indie working in an indie studio. You know, things might be very different in a big studio where so my advice only works for people that want to, you know, create indie game, I guess. But yeah, that's my. You gotta love it. If you don't love it, maybe think twice.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like you have to have a lot of patience within yourself, and it helps to have support from other like-minded people and
Yeah,
friends and family. And
yeah,
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 it does seem like a thing of you have to make sure that you love it because there are going to be ups and downs that you're going to have to really
yeah.
power through.
And another thing that's really important, but I think in general in life, but even more in game development, is that you have to always be really listening to people's feedback and try to put your ego on the side sometimes, because you're really fond of an idea and you know you're working on it, and sometimes it's not good. And it's hard when an idea is not good, but sometimes we've had that in Promenade. You know, the first dungeon, the Sandcastle, the main mechanic wasn't gravity at all. It was something else. It was crabs in barrels that had, you know, you had to move little crabs and then stand on barrels, and they were moving you in about. And the idea was great, but it was really not fun to play. And you have to sometimes be like, damn it. All right, I'm hearing you, this is not fun, and you know, put your ego on the side and be like, that doesn't mean anything about me, it's just, you know, not a good idea. And really listen to player feedback. And that's another advice that I would give, that's really really important. That might be something really, you know, generic to say, but I cannot stress enough how important it is to try not to be too proud when defending your ideals, you know.
That is a fantastic piece of advice. I think that's something that, people going into the industry, especially if they're young, perhaps haven't had those interactions or challenges before where something they thought was a great idea in practice isn't the right choice. So I think that's something
Yeah.
that is a invaluable piece of information there from yourself. Any final thoughts or anything you'd like to share with the audience?
Uh, no, I'm just really happy to be here and talking to you and giving you a little bit of insight about the creation of the game and speaking about the game. And I really hope a lot of people will play the game and enjoy it. And like I said, we did it for the players. You know, we just want people to play the game and be happy. And we designed an experience that's made to be enjoyed. So I hope people will be playing the game and spread the world, you know, the word, and tell all your friends about the game if you like it, because the more people play it, the happier we get, the more smile we see on their face, and the better it is for us.
Excellent. You heard him. You heard him. If you love the game, share it. That's all you can do. Thank you so much, Maxence. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so happy for yourself and the team. It sounds like you've worked tremendously hard. And I would
Yeah.
say you deserve a good rest, but it sounds like you're already invigorated and excited to get back to work on something new.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we love it. Like I said, if you want to do this job, you gotta love it. So that's a good thing we do. We love video games, so we are excited always.
Wonderful. Okay, I think I'm gonna wrap up there. I don't want to take up any much more of your time. I just want to say again, thank you so much for giving myself and Smash
Thank
Drum
you,
the time.
thank you. I really enjoyed talking to you, Quincy. It was really, and thank you for having me. Thank
Yeah, wonderful. Anytime. I'll be back for the next game. Don't you worry.
you.